Welcome, everybody. It's two-way tonight. I'm Mark Halperin, 5 Eastern time on Friday, March 6th, and this is, in theory, the final episode of the week. Thank you for being part of Two-Way. How's the conflict with Iran, pardon me. Let's take it again in 3, 2, 1. How's the conflict with Iran going? Is it going well for the United States, or is it going poorly? As citizens, we have an obligation to try to figure that out, and we can listen to government officials and try to read everything we can to get a handle on that, but it's difficult to know. How's it going? Is it going well for the United States and Israel, or is it going poorly? I wonder what the two-way community thinks. Two-way, the point of this platform is all voices under one roof, conversations like no other, attempts to grapple with the reality of situations, to not just be red or blue, to hear red and blue voices and everybody else. But it's difficult, particularly when it involves a war. We're at the mercy of the government officials for the most part to understand how it's going. And which members of our society are charged with spending all their time studying how it's going, talking to people, looking at history, doing interviews. Who's that? That's people in the press, right? We in a free society, the founders saw this quite clearly. We have to rely on people in the media to spend their day while everybody's doing other things, selling insurance and sewing dresses and driving trucks and what other occupations people have, picking grapes. We have to rely on people journalists, news people, media, to sort through everything and render a judgment and share that information. More information shared than ever before on platforms like this, on social media, on television, cable news, broadcast news. But what if those people can't seem to agree? What is a consumer of news to do? What is a citizen to do? How is a citizen to decide how is the war going? Very difficult. Ladies and gentlemen, I could show you 1,000 examples of what I'm trying to illustrate here. The cognitive dissonance, the confusion, the lack of clarity, the chaos caused by conflicting accounts in the media. But what we've chosen to illustrate it is something that occurred just about an hour ago. Nicole Wallace hosts a 4 p.m. program on MS Now. Used to work in the White House at the senior levels of government, been involved with national security as a government official, worked in campaigns. Very serious person. Nicole Wallace hosts a show. Will Cain hosts a show at the exact same time on Fox News. Again, serious guy, works hard at his job. Will Cain and Nicole Wallace presumably had access to the exact same information today at 4 o'clock Eastern time when they went on the air, and maybe a few minutes before as they prepared with their teams. The exact same information available to them. And here, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of the world trying to understand through the lens of the media, how is the war going? How's the conflict going? How's the United States doing? Here's what you would have seen if you'd somehow, through the magic of video editing, been able to see the framing of these two professional news presenters. Number 8, please.
Firepower surges, and correspondingly, Iran's destroyed. Since day one, missile attacks from Iran are down 90%. Drone attacks down 83%. 80% of Iran's air defense system destroyed. And over 60% of its ballistic missile launchers no more. As Iran limps along, the embattled regime is turning to allies to provide intel.
Even as the Trump administration fails to clearly articulate exactly why we are in a war with Iran right now and fails to articulate what the goal is for the war and has either refused or failed to articulate what we can expect to happen next, fears are growing that the situation may already be out of Donald Trump's control.
Who's right? Who should we believe? Who's doing good journalism and who's spinning for their tribe? Ladies and gentlemen, we're a week into this, and I've never seen a conflict with the United States with this high stakes, where too few on the right are asking questions about this. Some are, not none, but too few. And too few on the left are cheering for America. cheering for the commander-in-chief. Some are, but too few. Two great guests tonight. I can't wait to tackle this first topic with them. The president, once again, foreign policy communication by picking up his mobile phone and talking to reporters. So we'll look at some of the things he said today to reporters on the fly. Jesse Jackson memorial service today. I usually have pretty good instincts about what will get covered on cable news, live coverage. CNN took almost the entire thing. They were on it almost all day. Fox News took some of it. MS Now took some of it. And the speech by President Obama, which we'll listen to some of, was incredible. When Reverend Jackson died, I talked about him a little bit here. And I bet some of you don't have positive feelings about him, even in his death. He was an incredible person, incredible life force, but also an extraordinary role in American history, not just as a presidential candidate and a civil rights leader, but someone who elevated issues of importance to tens of millions of Americans, unlike anyone else during his time, as a bridge from Dr. King to Barack Obama. And we'll show you some of the remarks today from people. But if you got time, I recommend the whole thing. And my colleagues helped find a piece of video that I referenced when he died, when he passed a few weeks ago. Was it a few weeks ago? I don't know, maybe last week. I think a few weeks ago. Of something Bill Clinton said about him that demonstrated to me at the time it happened and to this day the extraordinary presence of Jesse Jackson, one of the few politicians I ever saw discombobulate Bill Clinton. And Bill Clinton is not one easily discombobulated by another politician. So, as I said, in a few moments, our guests will be here. Amber Duke of the Daily Caller, Alex Isenstadt of Axios. We'll talk about stuff for a bit, and then we'd love to hear your input. Love to hear how you think the conflict is going. If you'd like to be in on the conversation and you're here in the two-way platform, please raise your hand. If you're watching on X or YouTube, please no smack in the chat. Peace, love, and understanding, the presumption of grace to everyone. All right. Going to get in some sponsorships here. Then back to our guests. Cozy Earth is making all of its products on CozyEarth.com available to the two-way community at 20% off with the promo code two-way. Go to CozyEarth.com. Browse through it. You'll see a lot of great stuff on the site. Whatever you need now to replace something or to freshen up your life related to clothes, bedding, towels, it's all on there. You'll see it's a robust website. 20% off whatever you want. Bedding, Baja bedding set. It comes with everything you need to have a whole new makeover of your bedding. The Luxe Bath Towel Set. Incredible combination of cotton and viscose from bamboo using their innovative zero twist technology. I confess I don't know what that is, but it sounds like it'd make a good towel. The Bubble Cuddle Blanket. I was under mine earlier today. Snuck in a 5-minute nap. And of course, the pants. Everything available to you now. Start your year off right. Go to CozyEarth.com. Use the promo code two-way for 20% off. Refresh your routines with a comfort that makes every day feel like a new year. And then one more sponsor, ethos.com, online platform that makes getting life insurance fast and easy. If you are in the need of life insurance to protect your family in case something happens to you, to make sure that they have the security they need for things like tuition or rent or mortgage payments, go to ethos.com, use the promo code, ethos.com/two-way to get a free quote right today in as little as 10 minutes. The application times may vary. Rates may vary, but you can get affordable life insurance and the peace of mind that you and your family need to make sure they are protected. The consequences of no life insurance can be catastrophic for a family. All you need to do is go to ethos.com, up to $3 million of life insurance. And there's no medical exam required. Just answer a few health questions and a few other questions. And as little as 10 minutes, you can do the right thing for your family to make sure that they are protected in the case something happens to you. Ethos.com/two-way. Go to ethos.com/two-way. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to get to the bottom of how the war's going, how the conflict's going with our guests. Amber Duke is here. Amber, thank you for coming on again.
Hello, thanks for having me.
editor-in-chief of the Daily Caller. How's your big promotion going, Amber?
It's going well. I mean, kind of crazy that my first week was the start of a new war, but we're doing our best.
How do you like the part of the job when people come in and start to negotiate their vacation schedules with you? How's that?
Yeah, I've noticed that's been happening a lot quicker than I imagined.
Yeah. I always say being a reporter is a certain kind of job, and some people are very good at it, and then they're good and they get promoted to editor, and it turns out that's a totally different job. Reporters never have to worry about people's vacation time, for instance. So, Amber, congratulations and good luck. Alex Isenstadt is one of the best reporters in America and smart enough to never take an editor's job, I think.
Alex, not yet.
Not yet. Alex, welcome in. You haven't been here in a while. Why is that?
I don't know. I haven't been asked.
Is that true? We haven't been asking you?
I don't know.
All right. Well,
I love being on your show, though. Thanks for having me.
Thank you for being here. You're both just great reporters, and I'm so eager to ask you a bunch of questions and run through the news a day with you. Were you both here when I showed that clip of Nicole Wallace and Will Cain?
Yes.
Amber, you first. Just what should an American think about that? Obviously, they weren't talking about the exact same facts, but Will Cain suggested it's all going great, and Nicole Wallace suggested America was about to be eliminated. So how should a normal person view those?
Well, it's interesting because although that one was neatly divided along what I would say are ideological lines, at least the pro-Trump, anti-Trump lines, a lot of the media coverage has not been. There's been a lot of legacy or mainstream media outlets who have been more supportive of the effort or helping the Trump administration justify it. And then there's been a lot of voices on the independent right media that have been very critical. I think it's just too soon to tell. And anyone who is opining with any certainty about the outcome here is getting way out over their skis. I think it's fair to say that the United States obviously has a great air military, right? We can bomb the heck out of anybody. But what happens next? Does the US have a large enough stockpile of missile interceptors? If we're talking about regime change, what does that look like? And when you have the president coming out and saying, well, we had some ideas for who would take over, but we killed them all, that's not very reassuring.
Yeah.
And I think the greatest concern for Americans should be twofold. One is, if we are getting involved in a regime change effort, is that going to necessarily require boots on the ground? Because the US doesn't have a great track record of executing regime changes with just air support. And two, what does it mean for us here at home? And that's the biggest question that I think the Trump administration has failed to answer, which is, how is this going to impact energy prices? Trump says, well, gas prices will go up and that's fine. That's not satisfying for people who are actually putting gas in their cars. And then there's the question of radicalization. When you topple a regime that is based in part on religious fanaticism, are you going to have potentially homegrown terrorists? And also, what's the refugee situation going to look like? We brought in a lot of refugees from Afghanistan after the withdrawal in 2020. And there were some serious incidents that happened from some of those refugees. And so there's going to be a massive vetting process involved in that and a huge debate over how many people are brought in. So I just think there's a huge destabilizing effect here that isn't properly being accounted for by a lot of the media.
Yeah, Amber, brilliantly said. Alex, at Axios, you have a dozen reporters I'm familiar with who are just top class, top shelf, best in class. Do you all work in a newsroom or do you all work remotely?
We do have a newsroom out in Clarendon, Virginia, but most of us, or at least a lot of us, the people that I work with, usually work remote.
Remote. Okay, so there's no newsroom kind of culture here to measure, but just in you guys communicate by that Slack thing that the kids like. How do you guys
use Slack or text or
I'll never
based in Florida. So.
Yeah. I'll never use Slack. I don't understand it, but I know a lot of people do. We're a week in. Are people who cover the war and the politics of the war as you do, are people exhausted? Are people really interested in this story? What's like the cadence and tempo around this a week in?
Are you talking about are readers interested or?
No, well, the sort of the newsroom atmosphere.
It's the number one story. It's the stories that have been leading our site, the stories that our site has been focusing on for the last week have been largely focused on the war. Barack Ravid has been covering this war quite extensively for us. He's spoken with President Trump a number of times over the last week. He's broken a lot of news. So absolutely. We've had a tremendous amount of focus on the effort over the last week.
Yeah. So Barack Ravid, I don't know him, but he's an incredible scoop machine. Caputo and I talk about this a fair amount.
Yeah.
When he's going to call the president, and you may not know or want to talk about this, but he's talked to the president, I think, 3 times since the war started.
It's been several. I'm not
Yeah.
sure. It
Yeah.
has
So
definitely been
does
several.
he?
There was a
Do you
call
all
today.
get do you
Yeah.
all get a warning like I'm going to call him now, or when he gets off the phone, do you get a thing saying I just talked to the president? Like
I didn't know. I don't know, but he's communicating with some people. I just personally, I did not know. I was not informed of that. No,
okay,
but it's great coverage. So
yeah, yeah. Reporter in Cincinnati. I'm not sure what kind of reporter she is. WLWT. Is that a TV station? It appears to be.
Yes. It's a major
WLWT.
station.
Major station. What network is that affiliated with? It's not ABC, is it? I don't think it is. Anyway, President, according to the reporter there,
It's NBC.
NBC. President Trump is coming to Cincinnati next week. We just confirmed the president will be visiting Thermo Fisher Scientific in Reading on Wednesday. So that's interesting. Some domestic travel. Remember, we've been told the president was going to travel once a week to focus on the midterms. And of course, now all he seems to do is not just foreign policy with Iran, but he's going to Miami this weekend to do a foreign policy event connected to this hemisphere. And this is in the face of not just rising gas prices, but horrendous job numbers today. The job numbers caused Kevin Hassett to say there'd be 4% GDP growth this year. I'm not sure which part of his body he pulled that number out of, but I don't believe most people think there will be 4% growth. Alex, what's the connection as you see it? And this is a very hard story to cover. What's the connection you see between the war, the economy, and the midterms? How are you thinking about the connection of those 3 things right now?
Yeah, so first of all, that Cincinnati trip, it's interesting because it's the home of a swing district, and increasingly Ohio is going to be an important Senate race state
Yes,
in
very much.
November. That's a race where there's a lot of concern among Republicans about the incumbent John Husted, who has a very tough challenge against Sherrod Brown. In fact, there's some internal polling I've heard of out there showing this to be a neck and neck race at this point. And the economy really, it always matters in a state like Ohio. And so there's definitely going to be a connection between this war and the economy and the midterms. How? Because strategists from both parties agree that the economy is what is going to shape the outcome of the midterms. And as we've seen today, the war can have a direct impact on the economy. And so there's going to be a real tight connection between all 3 of those.
Amber, is there a way in which, we don't know how the war is going to end, but is there a way that the war could end in such, could it be that the war ends in such a way that it actually is a boon for the economy and therefore potentially helpful to Republicans? The president has dreams of doing in Iran what he's done in Venezuela and have access to their oil. Is that something that could happen this year, or is there any other way the war could be a boon to the American economy in 2026?
That's the most likely way, but I just am very skeptical because we heard during the war against terror that it was going to be 3 months, and it was obviously not 3 months. Right now, we're hearing 3 to 4 weeks. So analogously, we are looking at least years if the trend is to continue. And I just think, generally speaking, a lot of people have been not skeptical enough of what the administration has been saying about the conflict. There's been a lot of different explanations for why we struck in the first place. And it's possible that all, 12 of those reasons are in fact valid reasons. But when you're messaging this, throwing out the different reasons at different times rather than presenting a cohesive plan from the jump is what leaves people very confused and concerned about what the plan is.
Yeah. I just gave you a hypothetical, but I don't think it's a far-fetched one. And just ask you both what your judgment is about what that would mean for, not for history, but for the president's political standing in the midterms. Bombing continues for a couple more weeks. The U.S. government continues to claim incredible destruction of his Iranian command and control and Navy and capacity on missiles. Maybe they do another round on the nuclear facilities. And then the U.S. just stops. And there's no regime change. the Ayatollah's son or some other religious zealot takes over, and that's it. What happens in Iran happens in Iran. Would the American people say that was a failure, a success? Would it have any impact on the politics of this? Amber first.
Well, based on the polling I'm seeing so far, it looks like generally Republicans are in favor of the war, but the American public is pretty split down the middle. But what really catches my eye in the crosstabs is that when people are asked, does this make America more or less safe? The majority say less safe. And an even bigger majority say that Trump broke his promise on ending foreign wars and not starting new wars. And once you lose that credibility with the voters, regardless of how the effort goes, that's really difficult to get back. I hear a lot of conservatives talking about how Republicans and Trump's base just need to trust the president because Operation Midnight Hammer went so well. The Venezuela operation went so well. But in retrospect, if Operation Midnight Hammer went so well and everything was obliterated, then why are we back 8 months later having the same conversation? So I just think the credibility is in severe jeopardy right now, which raises a huge problem for the midterms.
Really interesting.
Because Trump has to be the messenger for the Republican Party, right? Low and mid-prop voters don't come out in midterms unless Trump has a really aggressive effort to get them out. So they need him to be a credible figure right now.
Interesting. Alex.
Yeah, I kind of would go back to my answer a couple minutes ago, which is that how Americans see this, how they view this is going to depend on what impact, if any, it has on the economy. I mean, everyone agrees it's the economy that is going to shape this midterm election. That could change if something hugely dramatic happens in the next 8 months, some issue emerges. But right now, this election is just all about the economy. And so the American people are going to judge this conflict, no matter how long it lasts, through that prism.
Yeah. The joint Israeli-U.S. operation started a little less than a week ago, right? It started Friday night. And we've been told by the Pentagon secretary, and see, I call him the Pentagon secretary, so I'm not accused of taking sides on what to call the department. We've been told by other officials that the intensity of the bombing will continue. The latest official to say that is the Treasury Secretary moments ago on Fox Business with Larry Kudlow. Here's Scott Bessent.
Military battle where they're being overwhelmed. As Secretary Hegg said, the General Kane and the President have all said tonight will be our biggest bombing campaign and will do the most damage to the Iranian missile launchers, the factories that build the missiles, and we are substantially degrading them. Our campaign has been overwhelming. So having not been able to succeed there, they're trying to create economic chaos, and I don't think they're going to be able to do it. There are a lot of headline writers, a lot of other networks want to speak to the contrary, but we've considered all this. This is in the president's calculus, and things are proceeding as planned.
President is changing.
Okay. The president, as I said today, once again on the phone with several reporters, including Alex's colleague. The Wall Street Journal is matching the New York Times reporting today in regards to saying it appears, neither organization says it's conclusive, that the bombing of a school that apparently killed many students was in fact inadvertently done by the United States. There have been many arguments made by Democrats and others against the conflict about why it's not a good idea. Most of those, to my ear, are about there's no end game, it's a quagmire, it's spending money, it's not America first, there's no plan for an exit strategy. Very little conversation about assassinating foreign leaders, which I consider to be something that should be debated, and very little. I hear very few Democrats argue against that. And so far, at least, very little discussion of the killing of civilians, whether it's inadvertent, which it appears to be if that's what happened in this case, but also clearly you start bombing these factories. I don't know what kind of bomb shelters the Iranians have, but clearly the United States, as it did in Iraq, is going to kill a lot of civilians, it seems. And in Iraq, it was barely discussed. Bernie Sanders was one of the few people who raised it. Alex, is the administration concerned about, or do they need to be concerned about that line of criticism, or that's not germane in this conflict?
It matters. It depends from a political perspective, at least. It depends how long it goes on for and how much criticism the conflict goes on for and how much criticism they begin to get for it. If people start to feel like it is a quagmire, if people start to feel like a lot of innocent people are dying, and the president starts getting criticism for that, the White House is probably going to have to respond at that point. We're still a week into this conflict, so TBD on that.
Yeah. Amber, of all this is a hard thing to know, but I trust your intuition about this. Of all the criticisms, what do you think is the main reason the conflict is not particularly popular? It's less popular than almost any type of thing that a president, a commander-in-chief has done. Is it the quagmire? Is it the America First? What do you think the biggest drag is for voters and citizens?
Well, this all kind of wraps together, but I'll make a couple points here.
Yeah.
I mean, the first is that Trump was just promising that he was going to be focusing more on domestic issues. He was unveiling this huge affordability campaign, and now we're in a war. The administration tells us it's not a war because Congress didn't approve it, but then the justification for the non-war is that Iran has been at war with us for 47 years. So riddle me that. But I mean, in addition, on the affordability and domestic issues front, I think people just don't understand how this is tangibly benefiting them. Again, if the argument is that Iran's been at war with us for 47 years, the vast majority of Americans don't feel threatened by Iran on a regular basis. Certainly, there's the issue of terrorism and sleeper cells, but they don't fear Iran launching a nuclear weapon at the United States. And so that's the circle they have to square. And then on the younger voter front, which Trump did exceptionally well with in 2024, if we're talking about either older millennials to really young millennials, Gen Z was a little too young, but has, a little bit lived through the ramifications of this. There's a lot of collective PTSD in this country about what happened with the war on terror and how long it dragged on and the subsequent disastrous Afghanistan withdrawal. And people are worried that this could be round two. And it's exactly what the president campaigned against.
Yeah, brilliantly said.
Can I just say one thing, Mark?
Please.
You made a really good point. I think it was you or either one of your guests in the last couple of days, which is that this wasn't necessarily the easy political move to make.
Yeah.
If politics was Trump's number one concern here, he probably wouldn't have made this move.
Yeah.
He did this because he personally felt it was the right thing to do. His military people felt like it was the right thing to do, that he had an opportunity to take down some people in Iran that he wanted to take down, and he felt like it was the right thing to do. Clearly, he has injected into the midterm election with 8 months to go, to the day, I believe, he has injected a degree of uncertainty and unpredictability that did not exist 2 weeks ago or a week ago even.
I'm gonna tell you the highlights of the headlines in the war today. I call it a war, 3-letter word. It's simple, but I want to ask you both for a number. What's the percentage chance in your mind today that Democrats win the Senate majority by netting at least 4 Senate seats? Alex.
So I've talked to some really smart people about this question in the last few weeks, and they've told me that some smart Republicans, and they've told me that the Republicans have gone from almost certain to keep the Senate to about 55 or 60%.
Wow, that's low. 60%.
Yeah, 60% chance of keeping the Senate.
Yeah, okay, that's
55%.
Yeah,
a little less
lower.
than that.
Okay, that's quite low. I'm not even that bearish on them, and I'm accused of being too bearish. Amber, what do you think of the number? Say 60%. Does that seem right to you?
That's pretty close. I would maybe err closer on the side of 70%, but it's definitely diminished in the past week. And if I may, Mark, because you wanted to talk about the media angle of this, I do think it's important to point out that we had this huge debate over the Pentagon's press policy not long before these strikes. And you now have Pentagon doing more regular briefings with they've been inviting outlets in who did not sign the Pentagon press policy, but
Yep.
they haven't really been calling on them. The Daily Caller is in a really unique position where we did not sign the Pentagon press policy and have been getting consistent
Yep.
questions at the briefing. And it's so important, I think, when we have that responsibility to ask good, interesting questions that people actually want to know. And that's something that we've been talking about a lot in the newsroom, is when we're going into these briefings, how can we approach this in a way that we're adequately representing the voices of the American people?
Bravo for you for just what you said, but also I noticed that unique position to have not signed a ridiculous pledge, but also to get called on. So congratulations to you, and I'm so glad to hear that you guys are being so conscientious about it, because you are representing the American people. And quite honestly, many of the people called on are not asking the best questions of all time.
Yeah.
Just one more on the Senate. It requires holding, almost certainly, we're holding Michigan and holding Georgia. I assume you both in your percentages are assuming that. And are you assuming it's Maine, North Carolina, Ohio, and Iowa? Is that the assumption? That?
Yeah.
Yeah, because say 55%. To believe 55%, unless you believe Alaska or Texas are in play, there's one path, right? And a path requires holding 2 and winning 4. That's a pretty high percentage, given that there's one path, right?
There's some wild cards in there. Nebraska, for example, is a wild card.
Yeah.
Nebraska is a wild card.
If they win Nebraska, Democrats win Nebraska, they're going to win 8 Senate seats.
Right.
I don't think Nebraska's going to be the 5th, but any other wild cards that either of you see besides Nebraska? Do you see
Montana?
Yeah. Do you see
it? Maine worries me.
Yeah. Maine worries you in terms of the Democrat Republicans could lose it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but that's not a wild card. That's like seat number 1.
Yeah.
All right, let me run through some headlines. The president, if you're a critic of the president and you think the president's words actually matter, you'd have to be troubled, because he's saying all sorts of stuff that's moving the goalposts about what this mission is about. Number 1, please. The New York Times is particularly attuned to Donald Trump's inconsistency. Trump shifts goals, now demanding Iran's unconditional surrender. He said that today in one of his many interviews where he picks up the phone. Unconditional surrender. And Caroline Leavitt was asked what that meant. Number 2, Wall Street Journal also focusing on this quote. Trump says no deal with Iran without unconditional surrender. President wants acceptable leadership in Tehran. Of course, yesterday he said he gets to pick the new leader, and people are saying, well, that means he's going to be more responsible for it. Here's Caroline Leavitt on the question of the president saying that he gets to pick the new leader. She did a Fox hit, and then they got her in a gaggle at the stakeout. So it was a kind of an unofficial presser. Number 6, please.
As for the future of Iran, as the president has pointed to, of course it's in the best interest of the United States of America for Iran to no longer be led by a radical terrorist regime that chants death to America and is lying to the United States and the world about their secret ambitions to possess a nuclear bomb. President Trump does not want to see that. He wants to take an interest in pursuing who the next leader of the Iranian country is going to be, and that has yet to be seen, and the president is discussing it and deliberating.
So as a student of Donald Trump, it seems obvious to me. He's saying he wants to pick the leader. He gets to pick the leader because he's testing it out and seeing what happens. If he doesn't get to pick the leader, he doesn't think anybody's going to hold him accountable for that. Are either of you troubled by Donald Trump's just verbal playtime on all this stuff?
Very much so. Yes.
You are troubled by it.
The comments on, well, and not just him, but a variety of administration officials. I think it was Pete Hegseth who said, well, it's not a regime change war, but the regime is changing and we're happy about that. And then we've got Trump sort of basically asserting that there will be more deaths of American troops.
Yeah.
We have him not really caring if gas prices go up. And then this is just the latest example, I think.
I get it if you're grading him on like not saying crazy stuff and not saying inconsistent stuff, but where's except for the sort of the intellectual effrontery, is it hurt his credibility? Does it hurt him with voters? Is it bad for the war effort?
It's not America first. I mean, that's like, it's so contrary to everything that his base was promised.
But okay, again, I say, assuming he doesn't actually act on it, and I'm not trying to be argumentative. I really want to understand so what? So what if he says a thing that's not America first? He for a time he was pro-choice, then he was pro-life. Then he said women should go to jail, go to prison if they have an abortion. Then he said they shouldn't.
I feel like isn't bombing Iran the biggest example of acting on something that's contrary to your base's wishes?
Well, some people, but I mean, he's already done it, and he thinks
Yeah.
it's right. He thinks it's right. I guess I'm just saying. So what that he's saying things that some people don't like? Just history will judge him poorly. I'm just saying. Trump says all sorts of things that are ridiculous. What's the cost of these ridiculous things?
Well, I think the difference is that a lot of the ridiculous things that I think we're probably sort of referencing are him, let's say, saying something silly about a Democrat. Him telling regular Americans that their gas prices are going to go up and it's no big deal, and American troops are going to die and it's not really a big deal. To me, that's uh, really beyond the pale, actually.
Yeah. Okay. Alex, again, you may not want to answer this with any specificity, but sometimes during wars that I've covered, the administration is very communicative. So if you call somebody at the Pentagon or the White House and you say National Security Council and you say, hey, I want to know when the next briefing is, or I want to know this report in the Washington Post that says the Russians are helping the Iranians target, you'll get answers. And sometimes they just completely shut down. What's your experience now? Are people in the administration responding to you in your newsroom, or are they shutting down?
Can I answer the question this way? When I
Yeah.
say that Trump has decided to do this messaging on his own in a piecemeal way, talking to reporters when they call him up on the phone.
Mhm.
And a number of us reporters have his cell phone number. The question is when do we decide to use it or not? And over the last week, we've seen more and more reporters with greater frequency deciding to use that number. And not only that, but him choosing to pick up and to give quotes. And that has emerged as probably one of the main ways in which the story is getting covered and that reporters are getting information out of this administration.
Yeah.
So it's unconventional, but that's what's going on right now.
Yeah. And again, we've talked a little bit about this here. Reporters historically who've had the number have been judicious about calling, thinking,
Correct.
Well, I can't call him every day. But
Correct.
now, because he seems to be picking up, that phone's going to be ringing a lot. And I don't know how the president decides whether to answer or not, except when your colleague calls, he seems to pick up. But I'm sure people are getting a lot of voicemails. Let's polymarket a couple things related to the conflict. Number 9, please. Will U.S. forces enter Iran by March 31st? There's a Washington Post story that suggests that there may be, based on the cancellation of some exercises, there may be some U.S. ground forces headed to the region. I keep wondering what the Iranian army is doing all day, because they're not fighting anybody. It's a massive army. I don't know what they're doing. 38%, according to Polymarket Wagers, 38% in this Polymarket says the U.S. will go in by the end of the month on the ground. That seems high to me based on my sense of what the president's strategy is here. But Alex, how do you appraise the prospect that there will be American military on the ground besides special forces, which are secretly there always this month?
I hope I have this correct, but I believe we reported today that Rubio has told people that he believes this fighting goes on for another 2 to 3 weeks.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, I don't know how that would align necessarily with troops being on the ground by the end of the month.
Yeah. All right. Here's a second Polymarket, number 10, please. Will the regime fall by June 30th? Will the Iranian regime fall by June 30th? 36%. You see, it's been a bit higher. It's been over 50%. Just a few days ago, down to 36% chance that the regime will fall by June 30th. That seems low to me. Maybe I'm being a little too optimistic about how this is going. But Amber, let's say that happened. Let's say the current leaders fled or more were killed, and someone like what happened in Venezuela, someone took power and said we're in control and we have the support of who we need to have support of, and we're going to work this out with the United States. How do you think public opinion and Democratic elites would react to that?
I think the Democrats would be really upset. I mean, and to be fair, Trump was saying just a couple of months ago in January and February that he really wanted the freedom of the Iranian people. He was encouraging people to protest. He promised that help was on the way. So if this thing ends and we have basically just a neutered version of the old regime, that a lot of people would be dissatisfied with that, I would imagine.
Yeah. Okay, I see a lot of hands up, and I want to make sure you all get a chance to talk to Amber and Alex. So let me just do a couple things on other news. Then we'll get to your hands. I'm sure many of them are about Iran. As I mentioned earlier, the memorial service for Reverend Jackson was quite something, and I'd love to play a 42 sound bites from it. But let me play you a bit of Barack Obama together. Well, first, number 12. You can see the former Democratic presidents, Biden, Obama, and Clinton entering all together to the service. There was genuine affection from all three of them to Jesse Jackson. Here's Barack Obama, number 13, please.
We are living in a time when it can be hard to hope. Each day we wake up to some new assault on our democratic institutions. Another setback to the idea of the rule of law. An offense to common decency. Every day you wake up to things you just didn't think were possible. Each day we're told by those in high office to fear each other and to turn on each other, and that some Americans count more than others, and that some don't even count at all. Everywhere we see greed and bigotry being celebrated, and bullying and mockery masquerading as strength. We see science and expertise denigrated, while ignorance and dishonesty and cruelty and corruption are reaping untold rewards. Every single day we see that, and it's hard to hope.
So there's a lot of this today. So let me try to explain what I think is going on here. First of all, they all love Jackson. They all love Jesse Jackson, and they all wanted to pay homage. This is for them. All three of them, four of them, I'll count Vice President Harris, all of them have given and will give in the course of their lives a lot of eulogies. But this is an important one to them because of the relationship they had with Jesse Jackson, because of his historical role, because competing in the black church, if you're a Democratic orator, is important to be able to do. And because two of the four of them, along with Jesse Jackson, are amongst the greatest orators the Democratic Party has had in the last 100 years. So there is competition going on amongst them to do well. Again, I urge you to go watch all of it. Watch Barack Obama's full speech, watch Joe Biden, watch Bill Clinton. Here is Kamala Harris. The other way in which they were competing was to use the moment to give us an indictment, as you heard there from Barack Obama, without his using the name, of the Donald Trump presidency. All of them wanted to use the moment to say, in memory of Jesse Louis Jackson, here's the moment we're at. Here's the moment that if Reverend Jackson were alive and still out and about, here's what he'd be saying. So here is Vice President Harris, more explicit than President Obama was. 16B, please.
Hey, I predicted a lot about what's happening right now. I'm not into saying I told you so, but we did see it coming. But what I did not predict is that we would not have Jesse Jackson with us right now to help us get through this. And this afternoon has been such a beautiful remembrance of his spirit, his life, and his faith. And in a way that Reverend Al talked about it and so many others have, I do think of this afternoon as what it is doing for me to renew my faith in what is possible, fueled by the hope that Jesse Jackson so often reminded us of.
So I'll just say a few more things, then we're going to go to everybody. Either of you ever meet Jesse Jackson?
No.
Yeah. I mean, it's very hard when you get later in your career to not think about the good old days and to glorify and elevate the stuff you covered. But I know Bill Clinton's the greatest presidential candidate of all time. The fact that he's the first one I ever covered is not why I think that. And I know that Jesse Jackson is one of the most remarkable political figures of the last 100 years, truly. And in his presence, it was quite something. And I'm going to show you a clip. You might think it's a little discordant to show, but I've been wanting to show it, and we found it today finally. This is in 1992. Bill Clinton was competing against Tom Harkin and Bob Kerrey and Jerry Brown and Paul Tsongas for the Democratic nomination. It was an extremely weak field because a lot of the heavier weight candidates didn't run. But Harkin was seen as a potential threat to Clinton. And Clinton was doing some satellite TV interviews in Little Rock, staffed by George Stephanopoulos. And he was told, Stephanopoulos was falsely told, but this is the pre-internet age, I'm not sure who told him, that Harkin was getting the endorsement of Jesse Jackson, who had basically assured Clinton that he might not endorse Clinton, but he wasn't going to endorse anybody else. And you'll see in a second, Clinton, this is a white hot rage that he rarely showed in public, but believe me, this is how he is in private, between satellite interviews that someone kept recording it. So this is Bill Clinton, hot mic, hot camera, not knowing he's on camera, having just been told that Jackson was going to endorse Harkin, falsely told that. And the reason I want to show it to you is, as a point I made earlier today and made on the day of Jesse Jackson's death, Bill Clinton was afraid of no one politically because he knew how great he was as a political athlete. He was afraid of Jesse Jackson because Jesse Jackson was so formidable. So here's Bill Clinton on an open mic, open camera, learning falsely that he's not getting Jesse Jackson's endorsement. Number 16, please.
92, Bill Clinton fumed when he thought Jesse Jackson had endorsed someone else.
It's an outrage. It's a dirty, double-crossing, backstabbing thing to do.
He wouldn't have said that about anybody else. He would have just laughed it off, or he would have been calmer. That level of intensity, I'm quite confident, is a manifestation of just how extraordinary Jesse Jackson was, just how much, even though he wasn't running against Bill Clinton, just his looming presence freaked the heck out of Bill Clinton. All right, quick word from another sponsor, and then we're going right to your questions. Please, if you're here on the platform and you want to get on the conversation, raise your hand. And last sponsor of the night is our friends at Fast Growing Trees. FastGrowingTrees.com, promo code 2way gets you 20% off. This is a little bit unorthodox because you think about ordering stuff in the mail, maybe sea monkeys, maybe some food from Amazon. I ordered some sardines today from Amazon. But this is trees, ladies and gentlemen, tired trees, and they grow fast, and they help you pick the right tree for whatever you want. Somebody texted me today and said his wife bought 5 trees, plant them outside in a big row. You can plant them outside, or you can just keep them in the pot and keep them inside. They have thousands of trees and plants, over 2 million happy customers. And all you need to do to get one or more is to go to fastgrowingtrees.com, 20% off using the promo code 2way. And trust me, nothing's more exciting than making your choices and getting the box and opening them up. And I got an 8-foot box for my 7-foot tree. Right now, great deals on spring planting essentials, up to half off on select plants. Listeners get an additional 20% off their first purchase when they use the promo code 2way, listeners or viewers. FastGrowingTrees.com, promo code 2way. Perfect time to plant as we head into spring. Let's grow together. Use the 2way promo code to save today. It's valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions apply. You guys know it's spring forward on Sunday, right? Yep. We're about to lose an hour. That's an hour less for ability to bomb the Iraqis, for one thing, or the Iranians, rather. All right, here we go. Bringing in our group. Josh, welcome in. Thank you for being part of 2way. You've unmuted already. Tell folks where you are, what's on your mind for Alex and for Amber, and thank you for being here.
Hey, everybody. Josh down here in Norfolk, Virginia. Interesting things, coming in with Iran. A couple days ago, and I think it flew under the radar, no pun intended, but some U.S. Special Forces, I'm not sure, Army Special Forces, Marine Special Forces, they apparently landed and did an incursion into the Al Anbar province in Iraq, or in and around Rupa. Yeah, I know that area I know that area well, because I served there for 7 months back in 2007. But they got into a skirmish with the Iraqi border guard. I have nobody on the inside. I have no contacts currently serving. I have no news. But
how do you know that, Josh?
Well, I mean, it's just sort of reporting everywhere other than here in the U.S.
Yeah, like
have you not seen the reporting on that?
I have not. Amber, Alex, is this familiar to you?
Yes.
Yeah. What did anybody get hurt?
There was one Iraqi border guard died, and I think a couple were injured. The only thing I can think of, so the Rupa area of Al Anbar province is sort of a trading hub. Coming in out on that side on the west coast of Iraq, you're near Saudi Arabia, you're near Jordan. Syria is not too far away, but you've got two highways that come in and they meet in Rupa and then go into the interior and across the country. I know that Al Anbar has been a sort of a logistical hub for Iran, for Iranian militias, but obviously this is not.
Josh, I'm gonna stop you there and ask you for a question.
Yeah,
if you have one. Do you have a question?
I mean, when are we getting boots on the ground in Iran?
Yeah.
Or in Iraq? Are we going back into Iraq?
We talked about that a little bit before, and of course, for a couple of days, everybody thought the Kurds were going to go in. Alex, what's your sense? Are we going to see American forces besides special ops on the ground?
My sense is that Trump would see that as a last resort. That's my firm sense that he would be very reluctant to do that.
Yeah, Amber.
I think Alex is right, but it is something I'm very worried about.
Yeah. Josh, thank you. I went back and forth with Amber a little bit on this question of the president saying careless things. I was really, of all the things he said, careless may not be the right word, maybe just inconsistent. When he expressed an openness to putting American troops on the ground, forces on the ground, I thought, well, he's just saying that to have the Iranians not be able to take it for granted that he won't. But I thought of all the things he said, to go to Amber, your point, I would think America First MAGA would just be fuming at his even saying it's possible, because
and there was
that's a quagmire. This is not going up against the Venezuelans for 20 minutes. Go ahead.
Well,
Amber.
and there was a report, and maybe it was an Axios. Alex can let us know if it was. I can't recall where I saw it, but it was talking about how Hegseth had been advocating for boots on the ground, but Rubio was arguing against it, which I assume was leaked by Rubio. But nonetheless, the conversations are certainly happening within the administration.
Yeah, I forget where that was too, but I didn't believe it. I was incredulous. Caleb,
I'm a little skeptical too.
Yeah, Caleb, welcome in. Thank you for being part of Two Way. Tell folks where you are and what's on your mind for Alex and for Amber.
Yeah, thank you. My name is Caleb. I'm calling from the UK. I've got one comment and quick two questions for both of your hosts. Thank you. I don't know why people are kind of perplexed that Trump is shifting his ground. I think if you've noticed the arc of Trump all these years, his main goal is always to remain unpredictable.
Yeah.
So he would never ever tell you he's not going to take boots on the ground off the table, even if he's going to be piece of the MAGA base, because he just likes being unpredictable.
Yes,
so the idea that you can corner him in a box, he hates it. And him committing to not having put on the ground means that he has also revealed his hand to the Iranians. He will ask for 100 just so that he knows that he can settle for 10. So I don't know why people are confused about that.
Yes, sir.
So
I agree with you.
Well said.
I agree with you. All right, first question. Go ahead.
To Amber, I'll ask the two questions so that I can answer. So what is American First? And I'm saying that because your country controls the SWIFT system. You have 80 to 90% of FX reserve. The Bank of International Settlement practically needs the US to continue to run deficits so that the world can run in a way. So what is American First? When Trump was doing your trade deals, most favored nation pricing, NATO spending, pushing for offshore, onshoring, all of those things, were those not American First? So what is American First? Does American First implies China first now and American second? That's the first question, because I think that's where the conversation of American First is now. Everything has to be American First. So what is American First? Does American First thoroughly now means American takes away all the leverage they have or control just because you want to be American First?
Okay,
the second question is that, do you guys think that if the Iranians have presented a deal that Trump can live with, he wouldn't have taken it, even if his critics would have criticized it that it was just JCPOA light or JCPOA version 2. Like if Iranians have presented a deal that Trump could have lived with, are you? Because kind of the same way you said that Bill Clinton is one of the greatest presidents, I think one of the things we can say is that of recent memory, Trump is one of the presidents that you kind of can have a read of him that he doesn't like war of Americans. So do you think that if he had been presented a good deal, even if this critic would have criticized, he wouldn't have taken it? Those are my two questions.
Yeah, and what are you clear what the good deal would be, or just a deal that seems good? Unmute. I just want a clarification, at least for me. When you say good deal, just in other words, doesn't get everything, but just strikes a bargain.
No, like a deal that he could have sold the same way it was like Greenland, and it was like he wanted to take Greenland.
Yeah.
So if Iranians have presented something to Steve Witkoff that he feels like he can live with,
understood.
I would say he wouldn't have taken it.
Thank you for that. All right, two quick questions. Who wants to take America first?
Well, I think that one was directed expressly at me, so I will take that one. I mean, America First is very simple. It's the basic concept that we're a representative democracy and politicians should represent the interest of American citizens before foreign interest.
Okay. Alex, we saw in Greenland, the president made a big huff and puff about what he was going to demand, and then he accepted something that I think was what he was probably expecting all along, but he tested the outer limits. What are the prospects of some sort of deal with the Iranians that maybe would fall short of some expectations of some?
Depends on how he feels the war is going. If he feels like the war abroad isn't going as well as he'd like, if he feels like he's losing support for it at home, his pollsters show that his support is slipping, and he is presented with a deal that he feels like he can market or spin in a way that makes sense, that makes it look like he won. I think he might take it under those circumstances.
Yeah. Caleb, thank you. A little news, retirement being reported by, who's that? This is, it's people at Axios. I think Axios is reporting Darrell Issa is going to retire from Congress. Yeah. Bit of a surprise. People have mixed views about the White House's use of videos about the conflict with video games, with music. Some people think they're great and they're meeting people where they are. Some people think they're kind of disrespectful of the concept of war. Well, if you didn't like the video game ones, you're certainly not going to like this. The latest White House video juxtaposing war with America's pastime. Roll that, please. My main objection to that is I don't think it was very well produced. Amber, what are your thoughts on these videos that they're putting out?
Yeah, that wasn't their best work. I agree. Look, I think there were a lot of memes out of the Venezuela operation that were quite funny. And I think in that case, it worked because it was a one and done situation. Right now, there's so much uncertainty that sort of declaring victory in this way is, I think, probably not going to go over too well.
Yeah, Alex, I'm sure at the White House, they're high-fiving over these, but what are your thoughts on whether they're effective for messaging?
Look, so the Trump digital operation, what it does on social media, it never stopped after the 2024 campaign. It just kept going on. And they've been they have taken this approach to social media ever since the campaign ended. And so this is just their approach. They're very aggressive on social media. They love to troll. They love to talk smack. That's how they are.
Yeah. Very grateful to both Amber and Alex for being here. Very grateful to all of you. Just an extraordinary week of conversations here. Again, our tagline, conversations like no other, both here and on SiriusXM. I've learned so much, and I'm so fortunate to be associated with a place where reasonable people come on and express their points of view. And We've had people very much against the war who were Trump supporters, very much against the war, not Trump supporters, and on the opposite side as well. And I couldn't be more grateful to y'all for participating. We'll be back over the weekend if there's big news that warrants a pop-up special. Otherwise, 9 a.m. Eastern time, Monday, the morning meeting, and a full slate of programs next week. Grateful again to Alex and Amber and everyone else who came on this week, and we will see you Monday or sooner. Have a great weekend, everybody.